New class alert, please. We got a new class upcoming. Who are the allies of Allah and the allies of Shaitan? Taught by Ustad Layla Nashiba. I know you're not going to want to miss this. So please stay tuned, okay? Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Faithful friend or enemy.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our first class for tonight, which is our Akida class. And I do want to remind everyone, don't forget that after this class, we have Brother Muhammad Ziada and Dr. Ibrahim Jamali. They're going to be speaking about being proud, pridefulness. How as Muslims, we should be proud to be Muslims. And this is something that we don't hear from our children today because Islam is so distorted. The world looks at us in a bad way, and so many of us behave in a bad way. So they're going to speak about taking pride in being a Muslim. That's going to be the topic with Brother Mohammed Ziada and Dr. Ibrahim Jamali tonight at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, which is after this class. And also, I want to remind everyone that we have my class, the Hasidic Tafsir, will be covering pages 153 through, I think, 157 or 58 or something. I posted it up on YouTube and in the Sunnahfollowers group on Facebook. So make sure you guys read the pages for tonight. We're going to use the example of divorce. We're going to use how when you come to a Quran interpreter or a scholar of the Quran seeking a direction in life, how they will use the Quran as the means of guiding you. And we're going to use divorce as the example tonight. We used marriage last time. We're going to use divorce. So that's what we have scheduled for tonight. And also, before I begin my class, I like to remind everyone, because I seem to always forget, remember, we are a nonprofit organization. If you enjoy coming here to Sunnahfollowers, learning your religion free of charge, we're teaching you everything that you need to know to get through the trials of life, to make it through that grave and get across that Sirat bridge. And everything here, of course, is free of charge. And but we need your support because it costs money to stream. It costs money to make the videos, use the video programs that we use. It costs $2,000 a month to run this website. And we are a nonprofit organization. We are a 501(c)(3). We don't take any, unlike a lot of the masajids, we don't get money from the government. Oh, no. We don't take donations or money from the government, because doing that means we'd have to abide by their laws, such as having LGBTQ people here to speak and all that other stuff. So our donations are strictly from you all. So that way we can keep everything here at Sunnahfollowers Islamic. So please support us, and you can support us by using Zelle, or you can support us through Cash App or PayPal me/Sunnahfollowers. And that's what that ticker down there at the bottom is saying. So with that said, let's get started because we have another class. For this class, we've been speaking about how as Muslims and human beings and jinn, we fall into the categories of either being allies of Allah or allies of Shaitan. And Allah tells us that the allies of Shaitan outnumber us. That's why it's going to be more people in hell than paradise. Just because you say that you're a Muslim does not mean that you're an ally of Allah. If your aqidah or your belief system is not correct, if your belief system is not the belief system that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with, if your understanding and practice of this religion isn't the same understanding that those original companions had, then you're not upon the correct belief system. And that means if you're not upon the correct belief system, there's no way you can be an ally of Allah. You're an ally of somebody else, but not Allah. And we also spoke about how the allies of Allah, they're not hypocrites. We talked about who the hypocrites are. These are people who say that they're Muslim. They say that they believe in Allah. They pray like us, dress like us, and all of that. But they don't really believe in Allah, not the way He commands. They will pick and choose what parts of Islam or what parts of Allah to believe in. So you don't want to be that, because the hypocrites are the allies of Shaitan. They're not allies of Allah either. We talked about how Allah mentions the characteristics of His allies in so many different verses. They simply obey Allah in everything that He commands them to do. They don't pick and choose. If you are a person who is deliberately, intentionally disobeying Allah, then you are not an ally of His. You are an ally of Shaitan. Okay? So that's why it's important for you Muslim women, my new shahadas, to wear those hijabs. Because again, there's no way that you can be an ally of Allah if you're disobeying Allah intentionally. You better cover up. And not just wear hijab, you have to make sure that when you walk out the house, that your body parts are covered properly. Your clothing should be loose fitting, not tight fitting. And I want to remind the new shahadas that a turban, it is haram for Muslim women to wear turbans. I repeat, it is haram for Muslim women to wear turbans. Why? Because turbans are the dress of men. And as our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said in authentic hadiths, any woman who dresses the way a man does has the curse of Allah on her. So no turbans. The proper way to go out the house is, as Allah says, draw your khimar over your bosom. The same way you guys see my khimar, I always have my khimar over my bosom. Okay, that's how you should be. You should wear your hijab, and it should be long enough to cover your bosom. Yes. Okay. So the allies of Allah, they obey Allah. And also, as we spoke about yesterday, a big problem. You can tell who the allies of Shaitan and the allies of Allah may be. Remember, only Allah knows who they truly are. But our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said every nation has its pagans, its fire worshipers. The fire worshipers of my nation are those who say they believe in Allah, but they do not accept His decree. And that's what we spoke about yesterday. A lot of Muslims today, you can look at the choices they're making in their lives, and you can see that they're not in submittance to the decree of Allah. You can listen to the statements that come out of their mouths and see that they do not accept that Allah is the creator of good, and Allah is the creator of evil, that Allah is the creator of man's actions, that nothing happens, good or bad, in this earth, on this earth, in the universe, unless Allah wills it. Nothing happens unless Allah wills it, not even the wind. The wind doesn't blow unless Allah commands the angels who control the wind to make it blow. It does not snow unless Allah commands the angels who are over the weather to make it snow. Just like the sun doesn't rise nor does it set unless Allah tell it rise, set. So we have to accept that reality. That's a part of our belief system, but most of you don't. You may say you do, but you don't. How many of you have been protesting? What were you protesting? You were protesting the qadr of Allah, the war that's going on in the world. Allah made it happen. That war is not going to stop unless Allah commands it to. So that's an example what the prophet meant. You know, my nation of fire worshipers are those who do not understand or accept that Allah is in control. And instead of turning to man for help, like you, how many of you voted in the Kafir elections? Another big haram. That's haram. You shouldn't have done that. Like the prophet said in that hadith, the pagans of my nation, they do not understand nor accept that Allah is in control. Instead of calling upon Allah for help, they will run to man, thinking that man can change what Allah has decided, believing that man can stop what Allah has willed to be. So those are our people, all of you. Those of you who voted in those elections, those of you who protest and can't against the qadr of Allah, this class is for you. You have to work on that. You have to change that. You have to understand that the power, what does Allah say in the Quran? What did the Prophet Muhammad teach us to say as a supplication? There is no power, there is no might other than that of Allah's, not man. As Allah says, if all the creation, including mankind, were to come together to help you, they wouldn't be able to lift a finger unless Allah allows it. And if all the creation, including mankind, were to come together to harm you, they wouldn't be able to lift a finger unless Allah allows it. That's the qadr. That's the decree. Very few Muslims understand this reality. That's why you see so many of them around the world protesting the qadr of Allah. Okay? Boycotting the qadr of Allah too. Voting in non-Muslim elections, which is a sacrilege. Even voting for LGBTQ homosexuals. They even turn into the homosexuals, thinking that the homosexuals got power over regular humans and that they can change Allah's decree. We have a lot to work on, Muslims. We have to fall back. As our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, we have to fall back upon La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So today what I'm going to do is speak a little bit more. As you can tell, I've been using French because I'm all twisted up. So I apologize. I was speaking to somebody in French before class and my tongue gets twisted. But subhanAllah, get it together. Today we're going to speak a little bit more about Allah's decree, the qadr of Allah, and how it works, and what we are testifying that we believe when we say we believe in his decree. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. In order to be an ally of Allah, you must accept his decree. You must accept that Allah is in charge, that he has the power to make things happen and make things not happen. And that's what I'm going to start off speaking about. Allah's decree includes that he's the one that makes the war end. What's going on in the world? This is the war against Islam. It's not going to stop. I'm just going to let you Muslims know today. Y'all need to learn your religion. This is the war. If y'all believe this war that's going on is going to stop, you're crazy. This is the war that Allah said he would send as one of the greater signs of the last hour to cleanse the earth, because so many of the Muslims will have deviated away from the correct belief system. So many of the Muslims will have deviated away from the Sunnah, which you all see. How many Muslims are living the Sunnah? Very few. How many Muslims understand the meaning of La ilaha illallah? Very few. So this is the war that Allah said he was going to send. So if you guys think it's going to stop anytime soon, you're mistaken. This war didn't even begin with Gaza. It began during the Bush regime with Iraq, like the Prophet said, and Afghanistan, like the Prophet said it would, and it will continue to spread through Syria like it's done, in Lebanon and Jerusalem like it's doing, and Africa as it's doing. So if y'all think this war is going to stop, y'all can get it. You twist it. Okay? Allah's decree includes the reality that he is the one that makes it happen. Allah tells us war comes from him. He tells us in the Quran, I send war. And I send war for several reasons. Number one, I send war to cleanse the earth of bad people. And we got some bad Muslims today. And we got bad non-Muslims too. Number two, he said, I send war so that you can tell who amongst you are true believers and who are your hypocrites. Oh, we see who the hypocrites are now. We see who the true believers are now by the way they're reacting. And thirdly, he said, I send war as a means of testing the true believers, my allies, with something better than this world and what this world has in it. So Allah is the one that made the war happen. It came from him, not Israel. Okay? And also, just like Allah made the Battle of Badr happen, Allah made the Battle of Uhud happen, Vietnam, every war that this earth has experienced, Allah made it happen. And you guys forget the companions, they lived in warfare from the time they converted to Islam to their death. They were in war for years and years and years and years. War is nothing new. Allah sends it. And as he says in the Quran, you may not like it, but he has to send it. If he didn't send war, the earth would be overcome with chaos. So there's good in everything, including war. Okay? So this is a part of his qadr. He makes it happen. Listen to what Allah says, and he gives us examples of the people that came before us and the interpretation, the meaning. We made them, Pharaoh and his followers, leaders, who called people to the hellfire. And on the day of judgment, they will not be helped. Allah is the one that makes things happen. Not only does he make the war happen, he's the one that will make you be leaders. Allah is the one that willed for Trump to be the president of the USA. Allah is the one that willed for Bashar to be taken down. Just like he's the one that willed for Pharaoh to be the ruler of the world and to be taken down. Everything good, everything happens because Allah makes it happen, guys, not man. Not man. And history just repeats itself. Just as Allah made Pharaoh an example, just as Allah made Heraclius an example during the time of Abu Bakr and Umar, Allah has made Bashar an example. He made Saddam Hussein an example. He's made Khomeini an example. He's making you an example. But how many of you take heed? This is the type of lectures that these brothers and sisters y'all listen to on social media should be giving. Not lectures of hate, not lectures to rile up your emotions to get you to lose hope and transgress Allah's limits. They should be giving you lectures of reminder that everything is from Allah. Also, Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, and for each of the prophets, we assigned a law for them and a program. Allah's laws are to be obeyed. You can't sit there and say, because this is the year 2024, we can violate Allah's law and vote for non-Muslims to be rulers. We can vote for homosexuals and sodomites to be rulers over us. No, no, no. Allah is telling us right here, we ain't no different. History repeats itself. Every prophet that came before the Prophet Muhammad had their own laws and programs. The Prophet Muhammad completed their mission. The Quran, the laws of the Quran are for until the end of time. You can't say because this is 2024 and this is Gaza that we can go ahead and put kafirs in office over us and vote for homosexuals and transgenders. And you people wonder why Allah keeps sending calamity after calamity to us. Okay? If we understood that he's the one in charge, that he's the one making it happen, then we wouldn't transgress. The same way the people of Fir'aun failed to realize that Fir'aun was not in power. Allah was. The same way, even during the prophet's time, even during the Caliphate of Abu Bakr, the Romans didn't realize that Heraclius is not in power. Allah is. The Persians, that Allah is in power. That's why Allah destroyed them all. The Roman Empire was defeated when they went up against the Muslims at the Battle of Yarmouk. Okay, the Persians were defeated. All those other great civilizations defeated by the Muslims because those early Muslims understood that Allah was in charge, that everything good, everything bad happened because he willed it for whatever reasons, and they submitted and accepted. So Allah tested them with his decisions and wills, and he rewarded them. Is Allah going to reward any of you? Are any of us allies like those companions were? Also, another example, Allah tells us in the interpretation of the meaning, and we forbade Moses breastfeeding before that. What does that mean? When Moses was placed in the basket by his mother, and he was picked up out of the Nile by the Pharaoh's wife, Allah made it so that Moses would not suckle from any woman except his mother. Allah made that happen. So that way his mother could still have some type of relationship with her beloved child. So again, and they couldn't figure out why is it that this baby, every other baby will suckle its mother, any woman's nipple. but not this one, because Allah is in charge. Nothing will happen unless he makes it happen. Also, Allah speaks about Palestine. He said, verily, Palestine is forbidden to you. For 40 years, you will not enter it. Instead, you will wander aimlessly in the earth. What's been going on over there in the Middle East been going on, guys, since the time way before Moses, to be honest. Okay? This verse was sent down in regards to the children of Israel after Allah freed them from Pharaoh, after Allah liberated them. They witnessed miracle after miracle from Allah, but they still wanted to worship idols. Just like a lot of you Muslims today, you still reject the qadr of Allah. So Allah said, okay, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to make it so that y'all will never be able to enter Palestine. Not for 40 years, until you all die out. Allah said, your hearts are too hard. You people are too corrupt. So I'm going to wait till all of you die out. And then those people whose hearts have not experienced Pharaoh will enter. Does everybody understand that? Allah, just like he did that to the people then, he's doing what he's doing today to the people today. Allah's in power and control, not America, not Trump, not Israel, not Bashar, not Al Qaeda. Allahu Akbar, he's in charge. He is the only one that has the authority to make things unlawful. That's why I tell you, sisters, when I did my class on polygamy this weekend, you should be asking before you even indulge in it. You need to learn the religion. Polygamy should be practiced the way the Prophet practiced it, not the way your husband wants to do it, not the way TLC TV does it. Because he was sent as our example, and he is the best. He didn't hop around with women. If it's my night, he wouldn't have sex or relations with anyone but me on my night. He didn't have sleep with one wife and then get up in the middle of the night and leave and go sleep with another. He didn't do that. And like he said, I'm the best of amongst you. And that's how polygamy should be practiced. Your husband shouldn't be having sex with you on your night and then going to another wife, having it with her. That ain't how the Prophet did that. We need to stick to his example. The lawful and unlawful is determined by Allah, not man, because you don't like makeup. Because you don't understand why a woman's face is not part of her order. You're going to make your wife wear a burqa and gloves when you won't even wear a mask, when you go out the house to protect your children from COVID. You people crazy. And you want to know why Allah sent war to you. Allah knows what's good. Allah knows what's clean and what's dirty. That's why he said, forbidden to you is the meat of animals found dead. Forbidden to you is blood and the meat of pigs and that which is sacrificed. We submit. Just like the Prophet knew, it's cruel. It's cruel to sleep with one woman and then leave her bed and go sleep with another. That's why the Prophet didn't do that. That's why the Prophet had no relations with any woman that was his wife if it was not her night. We need to follow the example of Allah and his Prophet Muhammad, because that way people don't end up hurt. Man's laws, man's rules are oppressive. Allah's are not. All that's going on over there in Syria, all that's going on over there in Palestine, all that's going on over there in that part of the world, It's because man wants to live by his laws instead of Allah's. And so they're reaping. That part of the world is reaping. I repeat, that part of the world is reaping what it's sown. And I didn't say it, the prophet did. He said all the fitna, all the major fitna that will impact us as a nation will begin in Syria, Iraq, Jerusalem, that part of the world, because they will be the first of this nation to abandon the laws of Allah, the rules of Allah, and give in to this dunya. I didn't say it. That hadith is authentic. It's Sahih Bukhari. You got to learn your religion, Muslims. Whenever we deviate away from Allah's laws, his rules, and the example of the prophet, there will be repercussions. The kind that you don't like. War. Okay? Another example, how Allah's decree is better than man's thoughts. Allah says, forbidden to you in marriage are your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your aunts, your nieces. You Muslims today, you're trying to be like LTC TV, referring to people as being sister wives. You want to live like the Mormons. You want to live. Do you know the Mormons marry their nieces? Did y'all know that? The LDS people, they marry their half sisters too. They marry their half brothers. The incest, the filth. That's what happens when you follow man's laws instead of Allah's. Allah's laws are better. He knows what's best, not man. Even Allah's words relate to his decree. For example, he says in the interpretation of the meaning, and Mary, the daughter of Imran, who preserved her chastity until we blew into her our spirit, she believed in the decree of Allah, and she believed in his books. She was one of the obedient. I wonder how many Muslims can honestly say they believe in a decree of Allah. I don't see that many that do. Also, our prophet used to say, I seek refuge in all of the perfect words of Allah and from the evil which he has created. For those of you who don't believe that Allah created the war, you don't believe that Allah creates evil, ponder this hadith. This is a dua that our prophet used to say. He used to say, I seek refuge in all the perfect words of Allah from the evil which he created, and from his anger, from his punishment, and the evil amongst his servants, and from the whispers of the devils, and from their following me or attaching to me. Subhanallah. And my English is perfect. I'm translating these hadiths into English perfectly. That's why I'm tongue twisted. Because one of the people that helps me, that translates the hadiths from Arabic to English for me, she is one of my relatives from out of the Emirates. And she has a PhD in Fusha, just like Dr. Asim. Her English ain't too good, so sometimes she uses French with me, because French is my other language. Okay? So how can you sit there and say that Allah didn't create this war? That Allah doesn't create evil, when our prophet used to seek refuge in Allah from the evil that he creates? Subhanallah. So Allah's decree relates to his words as well. And no one, be it Trump, be it the LGBT green team that you stupid American Muslims voted for, that gay woman who's the head of the trans, and that transvestite man that y'all supported, Even they cannot prevent Allah's decree or escape it. And the allies of Allah know this, and they accept this without question, even if they don't understand how it is that we can't escape it. The allies of Allah are obedient to everything Allah says, and they submit. That's what the word Muslim means, one who submit. They submit to his orders. They submit to his commands. They submit to his laws, his permission, and his will. The war is happening because Allah willed it. I submit. I'm going to do what the Prophet said do. I'm going to make dua for the believers that they can handle their trials with dignity. And I'm going to fall back like the Prophet said on my La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. I'm going to review my purpose, review my faith, review my belief, and try to tighten it up, try to strengthen it. That's what the Prophet told us to do in war times. That's what the companions did, and they were at war from the time they converted to Islam until their death. Even Iblis and his followers and all the people of the hellfire, they're there because they are in harmony with the decree of Allah. The allies of Allah are those who do what has been commanded and stay away from what is forbidden and are patient. And Allah loves them and they love him. Allah accepts them and they are content with him. Whereas it's different. It's different with the allies of Shaitan. Allah hates them. Allah is angry with them. Allah curses them and he opposes them. And the criterion that we use to distinguish between the allies of Allah and Shaitan is the degree of our agreement with the Prophet. Again, what did the Prophet do? What did he say? Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning. You will never find a people who believe in Allah and the last day, putting their love for those who oppose Allah and his prophet, even if it were their fathers or mothers or relatives over them. You Muslims that voted in those elections, that's what you did. You didn't believe in Allah. You didn't believe what Allah said when he said the non-believers can never be rulers over you. You didn't believe when Allah said that they all the same. When it comes to you, they all want your destruction. But you put your love for them over a law that you went and put them in office. You even voted for LGBTQ people. You're letting everybody know that you support homosexuality, one of the violating of the 10 commandments. The allies of Allah don't do that. They are the ones in whose heart Allah has written faith. And Allah helps them. A lot of people say, how is it, Sister Layla, that this Muslim over here, that person can wear a hijab and be strong and not care? But I'm afraid to cover up. You don't have the help of Allah. She has the help of Allah because she submitted without question. Because she just said, oh Allah, I hear you and I obey you. Because she trusted in Allah. Allah is helping her. He's put faith in her heart and he's keep helping her to maintain it. But remember, Allah says he will never help a people or a person until that person take the steps to help themselves. You, on the other hand, my sister, you've done nothing to help yourself. You converted to Islam. And instead of you doing like she did, just submit and do it without thinking, you're sitting here letting Shaitan play you. So Allah is going to leave you to yourself. He's not going to aid you. He's not going to give you the strength to obey him like he's given her, because you've made no effort to take the first step for yourself. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning. When your Lord communicated to the angels, he said, I am with you. So help those who believe to be firm. You got to prove to Allah that you believe in him first. The simple fact that you arguing, trying to look for a reason to not wear hijab and submit. The angels ain't making do it for you. They leaving you to yourself, to the jinn. You're an ally with Shaitan. You got your jinn and his friends. But that sister over there who put all the bad thoughts out of her mind and just said, I'm going to put this hijab on, I'm going to dress the part, and whatever happens, happens. The angels surround her when she leaves the house. And Allah strengthens her faith. Listen to what Allah says. In the interpretation, the meaning, I will strike fear into the hearts of those who disbelieve. Allah will cause the people who you fear to fear you. They may talk about you behind your back. They may make fun of you behind your back. They may even laugh behind your back. But when you enter the room, they're going to shut up. When you enter the room, they'll be too afraid to touch you. That's because you trusted in Allah. But no. Again, you have to take the first step. Listen to what Allah says to his enemies in the interpretation, the meaning. And verily, the devils, they pass suggestions to their allies so that they might argue with you. You're sitting here arguing with yourself as to why you shouldn't wear hijab, why you shouldn't cover up. Your jinn has the upper hand on you. As Dr. McBride taught us, your jinn has you by the forelock. That's that part of the brain. That's that part of the brain that Dr. McBride taught about, the forelock. Shaitan has grabbed you by your forelock, where your fear of man outweighs that of Allah. Also, Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning, thus we have made for every prophet an enemy, devils amongst the humans and amongst the jinn. They talk to one another. They transmit to one another. But what they transmit is false arguments. The Prophet Muhammad had his enemies. Jesus had his enemies. Moses had his. Who you think you are that people ain't gonna dislike you? There were more people who disliked the Prophet Muhammad, guys, than there were people who liked him. There were more people who disliked Jesus than there were people who did like him. Who do you think you are that you better than those two prophets? The allies of Shaitan outnumber Allah's allies. Don't y'all know that? Also, Allah says, should I tell you about whom the devils descend upon? They descend upon every sinner, and they cast to them the hearing which they stole from the heavens. Your personal jinn is going to whisper to you in your heart, to put doubt in there, to put distrust in there. You will have people around you telling you things that they think they know better than you. You even got fortune tellers and psychic people and astrologers out there who will tell you that your road, the road you're walking, is bad. Again, the allies of Shaitan, they outnumber the allies of Allah. That's why it's going to be more people in hell. So Allah says about the allies of Shaitan in the interpretation of the meaning, He says, so remind them, you are not by the grace of your Lord a sorcerer, nor are you insane. Here he was talking to the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the allies of Shaitan called him crazy. They called him a sorcerer. Like I said, the Prophet had more people that disliked him than people that did like him. But Allah told him, you ain't crazy, nor are you a sorcerer. Or do they say that you're a poet? Let us await that person's death, and then they'll see. So Allah was letting the Prophet know, let them say what they want to say. I'm in control. Allah tells us in the Quran, guys, that on the day of judgment, all of his allies will have the last laugh.